Hello everybody. Welcome to this episode of Sustainable Stace. Today we're talking strawberries. How to propagate them so you get more plants, and how to care for them so that with the least possible effort you get the most possible production. Strawberries are a dream berry. Why not find the dreamiest way to produce them? Stay tuned.
I'm Stace. For me, healthy food and sustainability are totally connected. You can grow it yourself. Nature is generous.
Guys, when we're talking strawberries, I think the first thing we have to realize is how vigorous strawberries are. In many ways, their ability where we live on the west coast of North America to grow, to multiply, and to just steadily increase, it's rather weed-like. It's typically akin to the way that we would see a plant that's rogue in the garden and out of control. But what an amazing blessing that we get strawberries that actually can get out of control on producing good things that we enjoy. Now, I've got a whole stretch of strawberries here. There's probably more than 100 plants. A few of them are in order and many of them are a complete disorder. And I want to first of all start off by helping you realize that this entire crop of strawberry plants that's right here that you can see, and even some that are out of the viewfinder, all started as one handful of starts. I started this season with no strawberry plants, okay? None. And the one handful I got that you can see there was 25 plants in a little bundle that I could easily wrap my hand around. If you've ever seen a bundle of strawberry starts, your tendency when you look at them might be to think, how could they possibly amount to anything this season, never mind even live? Well, that's the amazing wonder of growing strawberries. Now, I planted them in two different ways on purpose. The part kind of from my hand here up towards the camera were planted in soil with no weed control. Basically, they were let loose, just carefree to propagate themselves. That's got some ups and downs, but the purpose was to get as many plants going as possible. Now, what you got to realize with strawberries is every plant's going to try to do one of two things, and I rarely see them do both. They do one or the other depending on their environment. They either grow runners, and they set out runners, little trails like this that can grow long as you can reach, and at every point where they start a little set of leaves, that will try to find soil, grow roots, and become its own plant, and then the chain will grow on and do another and another and another. That's the one thing strawberry plants want to do. The other thing they want to do is produce flowers which turn to fruit. But if they have the chance to grow runners, they generally won't grow flowers and produce fruit. But if you can find a way to harvest the runners to make more plants, and then once you position those new plants in a way where they can't grow runners, they will generally produce flowers and fruit. So I'm doing both, getting more plants and getting lots of fruit at the same time. Hope that makes sense so far. Now I'm going to show you some steps on how to propagate more plants, and then we'll talk about how to control the weeds and the plants so that they produce flowers and fruit. So here in this area of the strawberry patch where we're starting out, this is where the plants were just put into soil. There was no ground cover. It was just reckless abandon. And if you look around in my crop, you can find, there's weeds, all sorts of weeds growing in here amongst the strawberry plants. There's a whole pile of plants that aren't necessarily the desired crop. But that meant that the runners of the strawberry plants had uncontrolled access to soil and to put down shoots. So I started out with an empty seed tray like this, and I filled it with loose soil, and you can see what I did then. I took and I laid the runners into those seed trays, and I covered the runners loosely with soil to basically give them ideal growing conditions to take that and control it. So now, fast forward to a few weeks later, and here we are with this seed tray, and I'm just going to snip what's attached to the mother plants now so that you can see all that's here, and they're all tied into the garden. And now there's all these plants here that you can see. Check this out. There's many of them. And every one of them now can live and grow as an independent plant. And they're serious, like they're rooted. So when I pull them out, look at that. Look at the size of the roots that are on these plants. And there's not just one or two. This one tray probably has a dozen or more plants that are all here ready to go. And they're big. These would sell at a nursery or at a garden center for plenty of money. But they all came for free, and they all came from the plants that grew from those original 25 starts. So you can pull these all apart and you can see you've got all these plants ready to go. So that's the way to propagate them. Just let the runners grow rogue on the ground and then cut them up. Or in my case, I controlled the runners a little bit and put them in a tray of soil. The opportunity is amazing. And it's, oh, look at the weeds, no, sorry, not the weeds, look at the roots. Look at the root mat of the strawberries that are there underneath. It's incredible. So there's a whole lot of life going on in that tray. So now we've got all these plants ready to go, and now I'm going to take you just a few feet further down, and we're going to look there and see what I'm doing in this next area of the strawberry patch, where I'm purposely not letting them grow runners so that they can do what I ultimately want, which is grow flowers that turn into fruit. So let's go there next. Okay, so now we've just slipped a few feet further down the bed, and we're in kind of the weed control area where the strawberries can't easily create runners, but they are totally in prime situation to produce flowers and to produce fruit. I harvested a whole bowl of these with my parents this morning, and there's still lots more for the kids to harvest in the next day or two, and we're coming into fall, and these are producing for months. Now, someone gave me at the start of this season something as an experiment to use for planting strawberries that I'm using, and it's a poly layer, and it's designed as a weed mat that you can puncture or put holes in to be able to put your plants in. So I've been using it for strawberries. It's been wildly successful. It suppresses moisture, keeps it in, suppresses weeds, doesn't let them grow, and it allows you to really control where your berries grow, and the black heats up and provides an ideal opportunity. Water also drains through it, so if it rains, the moisture goes through and the fruit doesn't rot. Now I want you to see what's key, and this is what's missed by a lot of people when they grow strawberries, is when you plant them, you don't just want to control the weeds and get good spacing, which is usually a nice big hand stretch apart from plant to plant. You want to find a way to water them easily and not let weeds get water. So I just want you to see this. I'm a big fan of drip irrigation, and I'm sure you've seen my video of drip irrigation, but look at this here. I've got under here 2 drip irrigation lines, and so this is running all the way down the bed, and there's another one right next to it. So every single plant that's in this bed, when I turn on the water tap at the top of the row, gets watered. No weeds are growing through. Now anchoring this was really simple. I just busted up a bale of straw. You could use old hay as well. I put it down, and then I put coffee sacks on top. So if you look under here, there's just a whole bunch of straw that's rotted through the season and coffee sacks. And this has been perfect weed suppression. You can totally just let it go. There's no border, there's no perimeter to the bed, and it's worked great. Grass grows up to it. So you see how the weeds are being controlled. You see that you got a place where runners aren't going to grow, and the result is flowers and fruit, which is amazing. So now we are back to those runners we had propagated, and we've got these little starts that came up from the plants that had runners. So I've got holes here that I didn't have enough berries to fill earlier, and so because it's fall and it's a good time to transplant, I'm just putting them right in these holes that are already created here, and now we got plants that can go right in next to their brothers and sisters, and we'll just make little holes for them, wedge them in there, turn on the water for a few hours, they'll take off, and we'll have a bigger and better strawberry crop than ever before. Typically, strawberry plants are really productive for about 3 years. You get your largest berries first and second year. By the third year, you still might get lots of fruit, but it might be decreasing. And the fourth year, they're probably going to be pretty tired. But what you can see from this approach, where you have some in soil to propagate runners and new plants, and some under a weed control mat to just produce flowers and fruit, is you can always be turning over your crop. So just like this season, I started with 25 plants, and now I've got 100, and the season's not over yet. So the opportunities are limitless. So there you see, I've got dozens and dozens of plants to put away. There's 4 that are there now, and I just want to take off this runner that's here so that the plant that I planted can just focus on putting out flowers. So you've seen how to propagate your runners. You've seen how to put these new runners that have grown plants into a place that's controlling the weeds, that's got water accessing it, that's going to flower and fruit. There's one final thing I want to show you, and this is great. You might be able to see that right here and right here is rebar nailed into the ground, and you can see these hoops here. This is going to become a fall bed that'll keep on producing later in the season, because I've kept this in year round. So I just take my hoops when I'm ready to go, put them here, and then I have a choice of using remake cover or plastic to cover this bed, and in this way I create a bit of an artificial climate inside here. These are going to keep on flowering after there's frost on the rest of the garden. How crazy is that? You get an earlier crop and you get a later crop. So that is some strawberry magic that's totally within reach for each one of us. Strawberries, they really are amazing, aren't they? Thanks a lot for watching this episode of Sustainable Stace on strawberries. We've covered everything I think you need to know to really get rolling. You can start out with a small handful of strawberry starts from a friend or from a store. You can propagate them in open soil, and with the runners get rooted little baby plants to move. You can put them in a weed control situation. You can put watering, drip irrigation underneath. If they've got flowers, they're going to fruit, and if you're able to get them in a situation where they're not generally growing runners, they're going to grow flowers and fruit. If you steadily cycle different ages of plants through years 1, 2, and 3, you'll always have a steady crop of new plants producing great fruit. You can totally control the weeds, totally put in borders with something as simple and durable as straw and coffee sacks. Strawberries are obviously a beautiful fruit to grow, incredible to taste, and it doesn't get any better than having strawberries either fresh in the summer and fall or even out of the freezer in winter. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sustainable Stace on strawberries. I want to encourage you, if you've been watching this on YouTube, to subscribe. If you subscribe to YouTube, what you're going to do is get a regular email coming in from Sustainable Stace. Whenever I post a new resource on YouTube, you'll get an email in your inbox telling you there's another one out there. We're doing ones on birds, on bees, that's poultry and bees, on fruit and on berries, on veggies, all of it organic. The goal is to be hopeful and helpful and healthy and create a community of people who are sharing resources and knowledge so that all of us can eat healthier and care for creation and steward the soil, the water better, and out of that get healthier bodies and a healthier environment as well, right? That's what we all want, I think. It's just how to get a way to start it, slowing down a little bit and enjoying it. Thanks for watching.